I'm profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled to be in your spaces, guys. So this is the thing. Doing what is easy, what is convenient, what feels good is what most of our young kids think. You know, in order for us to achieve the daily tasks every day that we do, people think like, you know, especially the younger generation, they think like doing what is easy, what is convenient is the most appropriate thing. But incidentally, that is why a lot of things are so screwed up now. And even adults who are holding fancy titles, big jobs, they even think that way. But I tell you, if we have got to achieve anything in our lifetime, we've got to do that which we have never done. In order for you to achieve something you have never had in your life, you've got to give up your comfort. You've got to give up whatever you have in order to achieve that which you have never had in your life. And so, to be honest, let us be able to have ourselves through challenges. And of course, let me tell you the reality. We have been through a lot of challenges as Uganda. You know, challenges in regard to famine, drought, diseases such as COVID-19, Ebola, you know, you talk about hepatitis, cholera, a lot of things that has affected us as Uganda, you know. But over the years, we have also seen, and of course recently, most recently, you've seen the twin blast, which blew up in Kampala, Uganda, and a lot of things were destroyed, and we are still recovering from that effect. So, a lot of times we have moved through all these challenges because younger generations, younger people like you and me, took up to their roles and responsibilities to make things better, to work, to make sure that we see a Uganda that works. We've seen a lot of bad things, including bad leadership that has put our nation down the trenches over the years. And we cannot emphasize that enough. If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not corruption, it's impunity of the highest order. In order for us to make enormous progress, we have got to do what we need to do. As the younger generations, to propel Uganda forward, we've got to move in a speed. We should move like in a jet-like speed. We got to move really fast and do things differently. In the medical fraternity, if you see it, if we are supposed to have it work, if we need agriculture to work, if we need to have leaders to rise up to the occasions to lead and do things. Because to be honest, everybody can lead if things are okay. If things are glorious, anybody can lead. But it takes a great leader to rise up when there's confusion, when things are not right. Like especially now that we are in the COVID-19 situation, it takes a great leader to rise up and show us the direction. Instead of dividing people, instead of greed, instead of impunity, instead of segregation, great leaders will rise up and read in between the lines and lead us into a better world, in a better directions. I'm telling you, to be honest, Uganda had heroes who loved our nation so hard that they were willing to die for it. Great leaders like Rod Awich from northern Uganda in Atangala Chekochot. Great leaders like Dr. Milton Obote, leaving his other human side, other human failings aside. They were heroes who loved our nation so much they were willing to die for it. We had folks who worked 2 jobs just to keep their kids in schools. We had decent families that were so hardworking. Widows who were so much working their fingers to the bone just to give education to their orphans. We had people who are willing to work. And I'm telling you, not only for them to go to school, but they were working for them to have also enough to eat on the dinner table. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are to make any enormous progress, we've got to pay the price. And we have to get to roll up our sleeves, because on matters of importance, nobody needs to invite you. In the spaces of, civilization, you don't need to be invited. We've got to do what we need to do. And nobody deserves to call us a shithole nations, because we are not. Because in Uganda we have everything to make us work, to make us great. Because we have the rivers, the waters, we have the forests, we have the beautiful birds that attracts, tourism or tourists every year in, year out. But year in, year out, we are finding ourselves not moving in a direction like the former Tanzania, like Kenya, like so many other nations across the African continent, that are moving so fast. In Uganda, we have everything. The birds, the lakes, the rivers, the forests, the minerals, the oil, quite a number of young talents that get, to move out of our country, to look for, opportunities outside of Uganda. We are seeing brilliant brains moving through this system they call brain drain, and yet we can make a Uganda that works for everyone. Good or bad, we have got leaders who are thinking of only putting money into our military, and only the things that are in regard to our security. Good or bad is a discussion that you have to think for yourself. It's a food for thought for you. Security is good, but we cannot have security year in, year out, still having our largest chunk of budget going to security, going to the political class, going to the ministry in charge of presidency. With us, our education is suffering. With us, our agriculture is crying. We cannot have that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, we need to have it right. The impression that the African leaders have shown us that in order for Africa to work, in order for Uganda to work, we must continue to borrow. And we find ourselves getting into that state of indebtedness that I don't know where we are heading. That must be debunked. That is misguided. And I'm telling you, let us put it right. The notion that agriculture is a low-paying job has to be debunked. Agriculture has to be mechanized in order for us to move forward. I'm telling you, Dr. Martin Luther King once said, if you don't have a reason to die for something, you have no business living. At the end of the day, we'll be measured by, not the silence, of the people who do not know, but the silence of those who know really right. And they are silent, they do not want to talk about that. At the end of the day, that will be putting us to judgment. The people who know right, they have got to speak out loud. You have traveled the world, you're outside of Uganda, you're outside of Africa. You can too add to the, to the development of our continent. Because I'm telling you, a nation has got so much that we can be creating the avenues for creativity. We can be able to create avenues for innovations if only we care for our people. Businesses based on philosophies as opposed to businesses of lifestyle. Because lifestyle businesses are the ones that, you find people driving podcasts, people having to take their kids in great schools. But with us, the businesses for philosophies are businesses like Amazon, Apple, even if Steve Jobs died many years ago, but the business is growing strong because they are built to solve the problem of the people within the world, not the people within the corner of our houses. And I'm telling you, we have got to inculcate that into our children at quite a tender age. We're seeing poor women not producing in good facilities, but rather in darkness and in fairly facilitated hospitals, clinics, and all sorts of stuff. If we need to have great leaders, leaders of legacies, people like John Pombe Magufuli, Thomas Sankara, people who love their nation so much, they were willing to give it their best. They were willing to give it their all to make sure that their country worked. Without borrowing a dime from IMF, without borrowing money from World Bank, but yet we see nations rising up. 20,000 ghost workers were, we are realized in Tanzanian's economy. 14,000 unqualified workers were arrested and, punished because we cannot see a Uganda which is progressing if we still run basing on this. These were the things that were terrorizing the economy of Tanzania. And in Uganda, we are not sort of that. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are supposed to move in a good way, we need to have leaders, not only who are concerned about impression, but rather leaders who are showing us a clear direction, a good path that our people can take on. Schools and institutions should be built and put up, not only, for the things that do not matter, but rather let's carry it, let's make it practical, let's make it things that are going to help our people, our very own people. By the way, our leaders have got to know that our colonizers are long gone. The education that was meant for us to only know how to read and write and be available for jobs in their spaces, they are long gone, and we hope to make adjustment where necessary. I'm telling you, even if we pray, we have a lot of prophets, we prophesy about this, it's not going to work unless we are willing to work and walk the talk. It's only going to be real if you have moved the journey. We need to decide to avoid things of greed, impunity, segregation, corruption, in order to, for us to allow ourselves to ground ourselves on values that are going to last, such as honesty, hard work, responsibility, fairness, generosity, love, hope, faith, and forgiveness. I commit into your hand my dreams and admirations for a great Uganda, because in Uganda we have everything to make us great. The oil that is there, yet to be realized, we can make a Uganda that works. If all of us take to our roles and responsibilities, then I promise you that God is going to lead us in a better direction. I see a Uganda which is rising. I see that Uganda which is working, because I can see solar-powered buses being made in Uganda. We are getting there. And I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. If tourism is on course, people are still in that way to make that Uganda which work. I see sons and daughters of the lovely nation rising up to work for the pearl of Africa without intention of going outside of Africa, to be in the spaces of like Saudi Arabia, UAE, all over America, or whatever it is, but rather to be alive and well into our Uganda, our lovely nation. Not to run, to die in the Mediterranean Sea in a bid to look for better life in Europe, but rather to be alive and well, to work in Uganda and make that Uganda which works. Ladies and gentlemen, I see the poor girls being harassed sexually and physically in Saudi Arabia and all over the places, because we are people who do not matter, because we do not have great things to present to the world. All we give is, our bright and brilliant young ladies to the outside world to use them anyhow the way they want. I see great sportsmen like the Cheptegei, the Kiplimo, who are rising up, by themselves. Nobody supporting them, but yet again in the State House they are being celebrated. And once you're being celebrated and it's done, it's done. They do not care about making the facilities that work for our people, but rather to celebrate you when the goal has been brought in place, when you have put our names in the public domain. That's when they will care about you, and that thereafter they forget about you. I see a Uganda that is going to rise up to facilitating the training of our young men and women, talented as they are. God really does His work to give them the opportunity to win, but yet, we are not celebrating them, I'm telling you the talent that are inherent in them is only going to be real if we have taken our time to help develop their talents, to make sure that it works. Because I'm telling you, we have brilliant young men who have been in the engineering faculties. They have gone through a lot of universities, if not in Kampala, Uganda, in Makerere, then in Nairobi University, all over, maybe in Harare, they have been in these universities, but yet our engineers are not able to build our roads. The people who are present in this assembly are the Chinese. And the Chinese understand long term. And they try to make it to us that they want